A while back, we did one of these on political advertising, filed under the name Bluey. That was during a national political campaign, and while that timing made it clear how perfectly awful it was to be mired in that sewage, it also made it difficult to think straight about it, since we were, at that time, its targets. Incoming. Now all of that is over, and I have a few thoughts to add. They are called attack ads, and they are a blistering attack. I used to think the candidates were attacking each other, which they are, but that's not entirely true. They're also attacking us, the citizens. And it's a constant, ceaseless attack. It used to be an occasional spot here and there. Now it's a bombardment, not a metaphor, as in we are being bombarded by these ads. It is a true aerial bombardment. Bombs coming in over the air, on the radio, television, the internet. It's carpet bombing, saturation bombing. It's shock and awe. The strategy is simple. You beat the enemy into submission. And the effect on us, the citizens, it used to be called shell shock. Now they've ratcheted that up into post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Either way, people become unhinged, disordered. During one of these campaigns, we're numb or nervous, agitated, fearful, disturbed. There is the lofty notion of the separation of church and state. Think about it. What that means is that the church's side of things, its turf, is devoted to religion and God in one form or another, while the state side is dedicated to politics and sin. Politics is legal, but it's also basically sinful. We pretend it's not by dressing the politicians up nicely and putting them in giant marble palaces, but that only disguises the truth. Politics is the legal way of getting what we want, we being those in power. Advertising is the way we get people to do what we want, short of the use of force. You might call it special pleading. The ancients called it rhetoric, the art of persuasive speech. Today we call people who can do this silver-tongued devils. Politics and advertising. Whoever brought these two together possibly didn't know what they were making. What a cocktail. An unholy alliance. The marriage of these two very calculating secular entities produces an offspring rather like Rosemary's Baby or the Minotaur, a man-bull creature who lived in a maze and ate people. Sound familiar? Political advertising is a horror story, all right, but we're not talking about cannibalism, eating flesh. This is all about mind-eating. They worm into our brains and eat away until we start believing that what they are telling us is true. And they give us a choice, so that makes it seem as if we are making the big decision. We can look at one of the choices and think, I'm no fool, I don't buy that. And political advertising, that terrible mating of two terrible powers, one dedicated to sin and the other to duplicity, political advertising isn't limited to campaigns anymore. It goes on all the time. What it pumps out used to be called propaganda, which is a mouthful and it doesn't sound good, so now they call it spin, which sounds much less harmful, just a little polished, that's all, and its practitioners are called spin doctors. But what it is and what they are is political advertising. Everything we get from the government is a political ad. It's another bomb dropped, and we hear it go off, it makes us nervous, and we scuttle for shelter. The only time you can be sure a politician is telling the truth is when they are silent, when they have nothing to say, when the facts speak for themselves. Then you can believe them. But when they recover, as they always do, and begin to speak, it will be in the form of political advertising, and my strong advice is to run and hide, or as they used to say back in the days of the Cold War, duck and cover. When you think about it, duck and cover is not just a way to protect yourself from nuclear destruction by hiding under a school desk. It's also an accurate description of political advertising. That's exactly what they do, duck and cover. Duck and cover would be my ideal team to run this country, the presidential ticket, Artemis Duck and Randall Cover, or perhaps even better, Gwendolyn Duck and D'Angelo cover. Maybe they could refine the system, find a way to spoon feed us or put us on an IV drip instead of throwing those awful bombs.